All right, we're here, baby. They're in New York City. Free agency, not quite what it used to be. A lot of trades happening, but the LeBron sweepstakes that does continue. So we'll talk about that this evening. Ty D Butler is where you can find me on Twitter, on Instagram. Want to hear from you guys in the comment section. Whether you are joining us via YouTube or via Twitter, hit us up in the comments. My algorithm right now is strictly Anthony Volpe and the Yankees, and then LeBron James, and wherever he's going in free agency. Claire DeLune, who does a tremendous job for The Guardian, she is on the show, back and better than ever. Shout out to you for hopping on my ESPN New York show this past Friday. It was your debut, and we had a blast. It was fun. So now we get to kick it here on the YouTube. How you doing today?
I'm doing good. I'm good. I am leaving for Vegas tomorrow morning for summer league. So excited for that. Also just sort of bracing myself for both the temperatures and the amount of alcohol I'm about to imbibe. So but it should be good.
Vegas off to a good start. Darren Peterson getting the better of Cam Boozer in their opening bout. So it should be fun. So how long are you in Vegas for?
I'm there till Monday.
Till Monday. All right.
Yeah.
You see my man Justin Termini. Tell him I said was good.
Sounds good.
He told me I got to get to Vegas, so maybe we'll do that next year.
Yeah. Wait, I still hear the theme music, by the way.
Oh, you hear it? Let me take it out. There we go. Quickly before we get to the NBA, I got to tell you about something that happened to me today.
Okay.
And I get to laugh about it now that I am like hours removed from it. So I'm hosting on the radio, doing 3 hours on the radio, and in segment 2 of the show, my internet goes out. Spectrum just
No.
decided to pull up on me and cut my internet.
Oh
And
my
so I
God.
walk outside and I see this dude like in the tree doing something. So I figured he's part of the situation. So I'm like, hey, you just turned the internet off. And he's like, yeah, you didn't get an email? I said, no, I did not get an email. I'm hosting on the radio right now. I need my internet. And he says, yeah, I can't turn it on yet. So I asked him like, hey, so how long are we talking? And I'm thinking he's going to say like, 4 minutes. He goes 30 to 40 minutes.
Oh my God.
Oh.
No.
Now, the good thing is I did have a co-host, but it's a co-host who's not used to driving a show. I'm the driver.
Yeah.
So all I remember is like I'm watching the YouTube stream and I just froze and I'm like, uh-oh, this can't be good. And then the connection cuts out and I'm like, oh man, this is definitely on me. And so we finally get
No.
back on the air. But that's how my morning started. It's been a crazy day.
That's so
Um,
stressful.
Spectrum
I
just
actually had, as a guest on radio when I was in New York in my hotel, I had that happen to me with like, I don't even know if it was my fault. I think it might have been their fault, but I was like mid-sentence and then the call just dropped. And then they tried calling me back and then I couldn't hear the host.
man.
So I definitely know that panic of being like on the radio and things going wrong.
Yo, and then so I have a hotspot on my phone. And then
Mm.
all of a sudden my hotspot's not showing up. So I'm just like,
Oh my God.
come on, like everything that could go wrong did go wrong, but we did get back on. And now we're here today
And now we're here.
on the stream talking some NBA free agency. You do have a winners and losers article that just dropped for The Guardian that I want to get to.
Yep.
First, I do find this to be fascinating, and and I would imagine for you it is pretty cool that there are people coming to you on a daily basis. Hey, Claire, where's LeBron going? This is, in my eyes, the greatest NBA player in the history of the game. And they are coming to you. They want to know where's he
I
going.
wish I knew.
You wish you knew, right?
I wish
But
I knew.
as we sit here July 8th, 6:07 on the East Coast, do you have a feel of where you think this thing is headed?
I mean, I don't have any like intel, but gun to my head, I would say Cleveland.
Mm.
I just think it from a basketball perspective, it doesn't make the most sense, but if they can find a way to get off of Harden's contract, it's like actually a pretty logical basketball fit. And then all the other stuff, like just like the life stuff and, the legacy stuff, I just feel like it makes the most sense. So, and I think he is happy there, like I think he likes I mean, I don't know if he would love like living there full time, but I think he feels appreciated there and like welcomed and it's like it's comfortable, it's home. So, that would be my guess.
I'm starting to come around to the Sixers because while it might not be home, it might not be the storybook ending, like, as
Mhm.
he's filming this documentary, and, 25 years, he brings not 1, but 2 championships to Cleveland. The Sixers thing becomes so fascinating to me because it's like, imagine delivering a 4th champ like, a different title to a 4th team, and you have this Sixers fan base that's starving, haven't been past the conference finals since 2001, and you're able to elevate them, get them to a championship. It's a big city, obviously. Those fans are nuts, both, positively and negatively. So I would have that higher on my list as far as like fit. Denver looks like they're off the list according to Sham. San Antonio, I don't know if that was ever gonna happen. Like there are definitely better basketball fits, but the Sixers, I don't know. I'm quite like interested in that one. What do you think?
I mean, I think it's possible. It looks like it was one of the ones that was kind of like inner circle options that actually have viability. Um, I just when we entered this sort of free agency debacle, I was pretty certain that it was going to be either a team he's played for before, like a Miami or a Cleveland, or Golden State with Steph and Dre. And I know there's been a lot of conversation about other teams outside of that, and there could always be a wild card. But the more I think about it, the more I'm like, yeah, it's just going to be one of those three teams, I think. And part of me wonders if the sort of minimizing of Golden State as an option is like applying pressure on Golden State's front office to find a way to make the AD thing happen.
Yeah.
Like maybe the public posturing of, oh, well, that they're kind of a second tier option or we're not really interested anymore or whatever is more of just like public negotiation. Um, I don't know. I think it's interesting that like we haven't really heard like Cleveland hasn't really made moves
Well, the
yet.
Donovan Mitchell extension a year early.
Yeah. Yeah. I would say that one is I mean, obviously the big one, but they haven't really made any like they haven't made many moves on the periphery.
Yeah.
And you would think they would be looking to improve, obviously with how their season ended last year. So I don't know. I still feel like it's gonna be one of those 3 and probably one of those 2 between Golden State and
All right,
Cavs.
so let me
So
let
we're
me run let me run this by you
okay.
because we're both dialed into Knicks Cavs. And they end up getting swept, but they were up 22 with 7 minutes left to go, in the 4th quarter, game 1. I don't know if I told you this story. I left, so I didn't see the comeback.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I had to be on the radio after, so I was trying to, get back home and beat traffic, and then I ended up missing the comeback. But the Cavs, to me, don't feel like a team that is, like, many pieces away. They just don't know how to win, and I think LeBron kinda solves a lot of it. Now, a
Right.
lot like, the Mobley progression that we expected just hasn't happened yet. Like, he hasn't become the player we've been teasing for a couple years. Jared Allen in the playoffs is just a different player. Now, maybe some of that is they don't have that leader. They don't have that
Mhm.
that go-to guy late in games. And yes, Donovan Mitchell to some degree is that, but not from the standpoint of, successful in the biggest moments, take you to the promised land. And if you just insert LeBron into that equation, like they become the second best team in the Eastern Conference. I don't know what happens with Harden because it feels like they might have a wink wink deal, but even if Harden returns, like I really do like that Cavs team because LeBron's still so damn good.
I heard Nick Wright say on TV today, like, that he wants the Cavs to sign and trade James Harden for Kyrie Irving,
Yeah, I mean, yeah.
and I feel like that would be really fun because Kyrie is just so much more of, like, an off-ball player than James Harden is, and that's sort of the rub right now with Cleveland is like Donovan kind of needs the ball, James kind of needs the ball, and that puts LeBron in a position where he's in the same spot he was in LA as far as being the third option or like the third, lowest touches or whatever, or third highest touches. So I do wonder if there's like a James Harden move coming either this summer or at the deadline.
Why would Dallas do that is my question.
Well, so when Nick was bringing that up as an option, he was saying that Cleveland would have to include some sort of like draft compensation in that.
Yeah, I just don't understand the motivation for the
I
Mavs.
think the motivation would be if you can get draft compensation out of that Kyrie contract and then also have James Harden who can like very capably run the offense while you're still not really trying to contend and just like get Cooper flag his sea legs a little bit longer. I mean,
Yeah.
I don't hate that. They're not going to be contenders next year. So it's
Oh
just like,
no, absolutely not. I just don't like. I don't know if is James Harden the guy, and now we're veering off into a different direction. But like, if you were trying to have this young group of players, and we're really talking about Cooper Flag as the centerpiece,
mhm.
ascend, is James Harden like the centerpiece of that? Like, I don't know that he is.
Well, I mean, if it was like because what would the deal it would probably be a 1+1, right? Or something like that. So
Yeah,
if he's expiring next year, then maybe
but
it's
he's
not
gonna
that.
want an extension. I think that this feels to me like a lot of what happened with Philly, where he goes to the Sixers, and there was the wink, wink, kind of we're gonna extend you.
Mhm.
I think
Yeah, and then
Harden
Daryl
gets
Morey
that.
was like, "Never mind, bro."
Yeah. But yeah, I'm starting to come around to the Sixers. I really just want to see the East be much better than it was last year. Like the
I think it
Knicks,
will be, regardless of if LeBron goes there, because like, I think Indiana made some shrewd moves, in my opinion, and they're gonna be back. I mean, I think the Sixers got better. I think the Celtics got worse, but are still in the mix. The Heat just objectively got better, even if they're not good enough because
yeah.
they have Giannis now. So I think it'll still be frisky. I mean, I don't know. The West is kind of a mess too. Like, I don't, I don't know. After San Antonio and OKC, like, who's the third best team in the
Denver,
West right now?
you have to say Denver.
Do you?
I mean, listen, I don't want to make excuses. If Aaron Gordon had been healthy all year, they're not. What seed did Denver end up? What were they? The
I think they were the
first?
3 seed.
Oh, they were the 3 seed. Yeah.
But 3
Um,
seed versus third best team in the West. I don't know. I don't
I
know if
I
they're the
think they
third best
are.
team in the West.
I mean, we'll see what happens with Peyton Watson. I I'm a believer in the Nuggets, and I actually picked them to get to the finals this year.
I did too, but so now I feel like I got burned, so I'm like now I'm more cautious about them, but, um,
And then there's Houston, just kind of lingering there. Fred VanVleet, he just got his contract. Like he's back. He picked up his option, I believe. Um, I don't know what to make of the Rockets. The Kevin Durant
I don't
situation is
make
very
anything of the
interesting.
Rockets as long as they don't make major moves. I just don't. I mean, like, they got Marcus Smart from the Lakers, which I think is, like, a sneaky good pickup because he can probably play the role that Dorian Finney-Smith was supposed to play,
Yeah,
before he, like, declined.
he was bad.
So I think I see the vision there, and obviously you're gonna have theoretically Fred and Steven Adams healthy this year, which you didn't have last year. I just still don't I just still don't see it with them. Like, I think they're a playoff team, but
Yeah.
that's sort of where it ends for me.
They blew a lot of fourth quarter leads last year, and they could have been a lot better than they were.
Yeah.
But I guess in theory, you get Fred and uh, Adams back, as you said, healthy, and then the Kevin Durant stuff. Do we want to go over your Kevin Durant trade that you just kind of threw
Oh,
at me?
yeah, when we were on the radio. I mean, so you were saying Kevin to Detroit, and I was like, "What if with that empty space, that's your James Harden destination, and then maybe, like, Fred VanVleet back to Cleveland or something like that."
Okay.
Somebody who's smaller ego, doesn't need the ball as much.
How about LeBron to the Rockets for
Not happening.
KD to the Lakers?
I don't I don't think LeBron I think if I had to guess, and this is just conjecture on my part, the amount of destinations being broadcasted by Rich Paul and by LeBron's camp is like public bargaining, public um, pressure on the real candidates. I do not
The
think there's
three
as
main
many
ones.
I don't think there's
Yeah.
as many candidates as they're saying.
Yeah, Sham said it's pretty much down to Miami, Cleveland, and Philly. I think highest ceiling though has to be, as I mentioned, the Sixers. Like I just love that team more than I do the Cavs. And obviously Embiid's health would be a big question mark. Can you get 55 games out of him? Like that's the question. But then it's like, hey, we did see him get healthy in the playoffs and then get hurt again. Like he's missing time against the Knicks. So if you can promise me Embiid's health, I think that's the best destination.
Where is that coming from though?
Yeah,
Like, if you
it's
can
just
promise me Embiid's help based on what? Based
yeah,
on
it's not.
when?
That's the
I
problem.
can pretty much promise you the opposite of that. Like,
Yeah,
I
that
can
he's not
probably
gonna.
promise you that he's not gonna be healthy. I mean,
So
that's a way better bet.
Are they a contender without Embiid? Like if LeBron goes there and Embiid's just shot, like is that still a team that can win the Eastern Conference?
I don't know if they can win, but I think they're interesting.
Yeah.
'Cause, like, who's their backup big?
Well, they just lost
Drummond, right?
Drummond because he goes to the Knicks.
Yeah, so who would be playing center if Embiid isn't healthy?
Yeah, let me pull it up. Oh, they just signed. Yeah, I should have known this. Porty from the Knicks.
Oh,
He's
right,
their
right.
backup. Yeah, I
Mm,
should have known that. Um, so yeah, we'll see, right?
that
But
again,
you,
'cause to me, contender is, like, it's not just to get out of the conference, it's to win the whole thing.
yeah,
So it's like, who's guarding Wemby on that team?
yeah, absolutely. I before the show, as I'm trying to, do some other stuff, got through your Guardian article. Great piece, by the way. You did
Thank you.
biggest winners and losers. I saw you clapping back at some haters in there, talking about, hey, start reading better.
I normally don't respond to the comments, but someone was, like, commenting because I said something to the effect of, like, the Celtics basically netted 1 first because everyone pretty much agrees that, like, to take on that Paul George contract, they would have had to give up a first, and
Yeah,
they only got 2 firsts total in the Jaylen Brown trade, and so I was like, they essentially, if you do that math, ended up with 1 first for Jaylen Brown and 1
yeah,
first for taking on the Paul George contract, and someone commented and was like, "They got 2 firsts, not 1," and I was like, "Read the
yeah.
article, dude."
Read the
But
article.
anyway.
All right, so we talked about the Sixers already. The fantastic offseason. Jaylen Brown motivated, feels scorned. You know what I think is happening with Jaylen Brown? The people trying to defend him are overrating him a bit, and
Mhm.
then the people who are going after him are underrating him to
Yeah.
the point where it's like, is he even the 7th best player? Which is ridiculous.
There's no
But
accurate Jaylen Brown discussion happening right
it's
now.
crazy. It's crazy, and I didn't realize like Jaylen Brown would be so polarizing. Like
Yeah.
for us to get to a point where Jaylen Brown is this polarizing is insane. But I am I'm very curious to see, and I'm excited to see him in that role where he feels like he's got a chip on his shoulder, and
Yeah.
now he gets to go at his former team. Conversely, the Celtics, like Jason Tatum, people talk about Jaylen Brown being extra motivated. Jason Tatum has to feel the same way because he is a champ. I still think he was the better of the two, but the Celtics with this roster, I don't think can win the championship. We'll see whatever moves are made. In addition to this, they add Mitchell Robinson, but Jason Tatum now comes in feeling like, all right, I'm gonna show you, I'm gonna show y'all, which I think is an interesting wrinkle to this.
Yeah, I mean, I think I don't know if he's ever been lacking in, like, "I'm gonna show you," and I think that's where I hesitate to see that being a needle mover because I think it seems like he's been very cognizant of the discourse about him and very bothered by it for a long time. Like, I remember I don't know if it was, like, last summer or the summer before, but I remember he gave an interview about, like, just, like, how underrated he was, and I just feel like his comments have just constantly been like, why am I not mentioned with these names? Like, why am I not considered here? And I don't know if that's done him a lot of good, honestly,
But
you
but
know?
I think this is different because typically that's like outside noise, right? Where it's like pundits and, media speculation about, "All right, who's better?" This feels like there was some smoke between him and Jaylen Brown, and so for that,
Maybe,
like,
yeah.
maybe it's not the biggest needle mover, but for it to be your former teammate who I still have problems with what Jaylen Brown did, um, saying that this was his favorite year, but you had the
Yeah.
Celtics as one of your biggest losers, of the offseason.
Yeah, I mean, I just think it's a terrible trade. I don't really know, it's not that ambiguous, like,
Yeah,
to me, it's just they didn't get enough back. They moved at a point where I don't think it was necessary. I don't think Paul George and a couple firsts was going anywhere.
yeah,
So, like, that being the best you could get feels, I just don't believe it. And if, and we talked about this on when we were live when it broke, but like if that was how the league felt about Jaylen Brown and the best you could do was a negative value contract and two firsts and a couple seconds, then you absolutely either shouldn't have included him in talks for Giannis or should have made sure that you got that done. Because
yeah.
as soon as it was obvious that there was drama behind the scenes, like that diminished your bargaining chip. And then I feel like it's a sort of dereliction of duty to not know how the league feels about him. So either way, like either they're lying and they just didn't do their due diligence, like to look for better offers, or they didn't do their diligence to find out how the league felt about him before including his name in very public trade talks. And either way, I just think that's like a bad job by the front office.
In addition to the Celtics, you have, the team that you cover closely, the Lakers, as,
Mhm.
one of the biggest losers of the offseason. Since we last
Yeah.
spoke, they did add a backup center, Kevon Looney, who I think his best days are behind him. Loved him in Golden State. He was
Yeah.
phenomenal in his role, but last couple years hasn't looked great. I'm trying to talk myself into this being a good roster. And it always starts with Luka's pretty damn good, man, and he makes players around him better.
Yeah.
I did see Rich Paul on his podcast. Max pointed out how the Lakers he thought were better with LeBron ball handling because Luka dribbles too much. And so look, now that's not going to be discourse anymore. Luka's gonna have the ball in his hands. Austin got paid, so he's in his defined number two role, and
Mhm.
now they just get to cook. And JJ, who I was very skeptical about when the Lakers first hired him, has proven to be a really good head coach. But you do have the Lakers as one of your biggest losers of the offseason.
Yeah, I mean, it's partially about the team they've assembled because I just think in the Rob Pelinka era, he has consistently over-indexed on offense and undervalued defense. And I think, a lot of people in my comments are like, "Oh, well, they couldn't have kept Marcus Smart. He was going to Houston or whatever." I was like, "All right, guys, as much as he loves Texas and he's from there, he got 2 years, 14 million.
Yeah.
There's no way that there isn't a number within reason that the Lakers couldn't have offered him to prevent that from happening. I just refuse to believe that. Um, but so I think they underrated like defense, especially perimeter defense when building this roster. I think the player options are ridiculous. Everybody got a player option. It was like Oprah, like you get a player option and you get a player option. Like four contracts, like four long-term contracts. I mean, I guess Colin Sexton is a short-term contract, but four contracts, four player options is unheard of. You just don't see other teams doing that. I think they overpaid for pretty much everyone. Like I would say Colin Sexton maybe being the exception, but I would have rather seen that money go to Marcus Smart. But I think they overpaid for Mamu. I think they overpaid like based on what he's proven he can do so far. Um, I think they overpaid for Quentin Grimes. I think they overpaid for Walker Kessler, both in dollar amount less so, in draft capital very much so.
Mhm.
And I think they ultimately overpaid Austin a little bit. Like I'm a big
I was
Austin
gonna
Reeves
ask
guy.
Yeah, I was gonna ask you, how do you feel about that contract?
I'm a huge Austin Reeves fan. I think he's amazing, and I think he was very deserving of like a 40+ million dollar a year paycheck. I just feel like the max when you're operating with the margins being so thin as far as improving the roster. Like again, this year, as I've said on here before, like this year it won't impact them very much, if at all, because his cap hold was only like $20 million. So like it won't be until next season that 40 something million is going to come into play as far as making it more difficult to build the roster. But I just think, again, this isn't reporting, but if the reporting is correct that they lowballed him to begin with, maybe if they had come in it with a more respectable offer to start with, they wouldn't have had to end up at the max to keep him. But it sounds like it was a pretty offensively low number to start with, that 30 million as reported. If that was true, then I could imagine why, in order to mend fences, you would have to then come back with a knock your socks off kind of offer. Um, and like the fact that, nobody who had playoff rotation minutes last year is still on the team. I
Yeah.
just think continuity is such an underrated trait in NBA teams. And like even if it was just Marcus and Rui, or like just Marcus, like just having someone besides Luka and Austin there that is familiar with JJ, familiar with the scheme, familiar with playing with Luka. Like I just think that's really valuable. And they kept a couple of guys from the roster, but nobody who was like in the meaningful playoff rotation. And I understand wanting to like make a splash, win the press conference, say, look, Luka, we built you a brand new team. But I think they're underrating LeBron's contributions, Marcus's contributions. I mean, Rui was the best 3-point shooter by volume in like NBA playoff history last year.
He
So
couldn't miss. Yeah.
I don't know. I'm underwhelmed. I think it's, to me, it's like at best probably like kind of a lateral move this year, and at worst they're going to be worse.
Well, and maybe they think lateral, like if it is a lateral move, it's good enough because you can convince yourself that if Luca doesn't get hurt, then maybe they're, a much better team. You cover the Lakers, so in you going through the roster construction, do you have any insight as to like how much JJ has say? And every head coach to some degree has say, but like, do you think that this is the roster he wants?
Yeah, I think he has a lot of say. I
Okay.
mean, I think I don't know if he has the final say, but he definitely had influence over this. I mean, if you look at this roster, like I see the vision. It's like surround Luka with shooters and lob threats. Like
Mhm.
that's what he wants. That's what a Luka team does. And also like a JJ team is obviously going to be very like focused on spacing and shooting. Like he's a 3-point specialist. Um, I just think they're underrating like two-way play, and especially like on the perimeter. I also just think they're they need a wing, and it sounds like they're still in the hunt for Kuminga. I'm not a big Kuminga person personally, but to continue to sign like combo guards
Mhm.
when they're not necessarily perimeter defenders is kind of confounding to me. Like I think the idea, for example, behind using that 9 million a year for Colin Sexton versus like a Marcus Smart or a Kelly Oubre was like, okay, well, this person can spot Luka and Austin minutes off the bench because they were clearly like really overly taxed last year and playing way too many minutes. And we need there to be someone who can run the offense off the bench to spot them minutes. While I see the thinking behind that, I just think that's lower on the priorities than having a good perimeter defender, or having like a wing player that's like flexible defensively, because the only like true defensive wing you have right now is Jared Vanderbilt, and he's quite literally not even in the regular season rotation, let
Someone you
alone the
wanna get
playoffs.
rid of.
Yeah. So it's like I just I think, you know, from a luxury perspective, it would be a great luxury to have a really competent backup guard that can spot Luka and Austin minutes. I don't think you have that luxury with this roster, and I don't think you have that luxury when you're two starting guards. I mean, Luka doesn't really, he's not a true point guard in the sense that he doesn't defend guards. Like he's more of like a 3 or a 4 as far as like who he defends, but in the offense, obviously he's functioning as their point guard. So like when your two guards are either at best neutral or negative defensively, like I don't really think you have the luxury of using that roster spot on a guard who also is not great defensively. Like I just think that's an L.
I I k I keep coming back to this as my primary question. Can Austin Reeves be the second best player on a team that wins a championship?
We're gonna find
And I
out.
guess maybe, right? Because you just go back the last half decade, like Chris Middleton was. Chris Middleton's some great player, but Giannis obviously is awesome, and then Middleton did what he needed to do. J Dub was. Towns is different. Towns is a future Hall of Famer. Uh, Brown and Tatum, whoever you think's the second best player. Jamal Murray's pretty good, but like I guess depending on how great your number one is, if he's incredible and the rest of the roster, I guess Austin Reeves can prove to be the second best player on a championship team. But to your point, like we're about to find out, man, because like you're up. Like this is
Yeah.
all you.
I mean, I think if you gave the Lakers truth serum, they're probably thinking we're going to give this a year with Luca and Austin and see what that looks like as the nucleus, like, and Walker Kessler, obviously. And if it's a disaster or if, Austin like doesn't prove his mettle, I guess that is the break glass in case of emergency to improve the roster because they really have no other avenues to improve the roster right
Yeah.
now. Like they now have 3 seconds because of the DeAndre Ayton trade, and they have Cameron Carr looks amazing so far.
Yep.
And Adu Thiero is still I would say a positive asset even though he's kind of unproven. So they have very limited avenues to get better, but Austin obviously would be someone that they could trade and get like a haul for. And I don't think they plan to or want to do that. I think they see him as the two guard of the future. But if they were honest, they're probably like the reason we feel comfortable pushing all our chips in from a draft, compensation perspective on this roster is because worst case scenario next year we can trade Austin, and that's probably the thinking. But I don't know. I'm a big Austin fan. I think he gets better every year. I think anything that's ever been asked of him, he has shown the capability to do. I mean, he got injured last year, but I do think that was in huge part due to JJ playing them way too many minutes in the regular season. Like they were playing like 40 plus minutes in regular season games that really didn't matter very much. I just think the wear and tear got to them eventually. So hopefully he'll have learned his lesson there. But I think Austin's great. I think he's probably still pretty underrated as far as like the national view of him. Like he was single-handedly carrying this team when there was no Luca and no LeBron last year and looked incredible doing it. And he's a psycho competitor and like very hardworking. So I just think he's coachable. So I just think he's going to continue to grow and get better. But yeah, like I guess to your point, can he be the second best player on a championship team? I think that depends so much on the team that's put around them. And like, you saw with the Knicks, what was so smart about that roster build is it not only played to the strengths of their two best players, but also to their weaknesses, and to sort of buoying those weaknesses. I don't know that I can say that for this Lakers roster construction this year. Like, who is the Austin and Luca defense insurance on this team? Because right now, all I see is like you're asking Walker Kessler to be Rudy Gobert and basically single-handedly be your defense.
And he's never proven like he can be this great player that we all imagine him to be. And he played 5 games last year.
He's definitely shown really promising upside, but he's never played a playoff game ever. And he's just more of a theory than a known quantity.
And at this point, when Luka is in the prime of his career, like you need more, like less theories and more like proven commodities. And so, like you just brought up
outside of the realm of possibility that Luka is not a Laker in a couple of years. Like
that would just be, I mean, what a disaster. You get this gift from Nico, and then he walks in free agent. Like that would just
that's
be
not reporting, by the way. That's just me like watching what's happened because Luka's very smart and I'm sure he sees how limited the avenues are to improve. So it's like if this year's a disaster, if they're a first round exit, whatever, like I mean, he certainly won't be signing an extension anytime soon, I don't think, unless they show meaningful improvement this year. Although I guess from Luka's perspective, they kind of gave him what he asked for. It's just the options were limited. So I mean, Luka demanded that they
Austin, right?
Well, I think he was like, you have to find a way to keep Austin. They did that. And then I think he was like, "You have to get me like an A-list center." And I think they did that. I think Walker Kessler qualifies as an A-list center.
How about the LeBron part of it? Was Luka not, I don't want to say involved, but was he not pushing for LeBron to come back?
I mean, I haven't heard any like direct intel there, but again, like reading the tea leaves, I would say I don't know that he was pushing in either direction. Like I
Mm.
don't know if he was advocating for LeBron to come back, and I didn't haven't heard anything that he was pushing him out the door. I think he probably understood that in order to make those, like when you demand an A-list center and your cap space is directly correlated to LeBron James, you're kind of at least okay with the idea of him not coming back because
Yeah.
A-list centers get paid. So like, if he had been like, okay, we can run with Nick Claxton next year, but I have to keep LeBron, like LeBron would probably still be there. So
It's also kind of like the, if you don't condemn it, you condone it, in a
right,
sense of like,
right, exactly.
if you're not asking for him back, you're kind of just like, if you're cool with him leaving, I don't know. It's a weird situation.
Yeah, that's
Because
why I would say I don't think he demanded anything in either direction. But to your point, like by not demanding that he stay, that's kind of
yeah, it's very
you know what's
telling.
gonna happen there. Yeah, exactly.
Um, Last couple things here. Uh, I thought the Pistons were amongst the biggest losers.
I had them
And
as one of my biggest
yeah,
losers in
yeah,
the
you,
round. Yeah.
and you have them here. So Tobias Harris, as you outlined, he bolted. And not that Tobias Harris is some great player, but he was significant as far as like what they did last year. Now he wasn't awesome in the playoffs, but um I just feel like since the trade deadline last year, they've kind of just been fumbling.
Yeah.
And I get so annoyed when teams don't understand the gravity of what they have. I feel this way about the Denver
Mhm.
Nuggets front office, and look,
Mhm.
Nuggets have won a championship, but it's like you are wasting away prime years of one of the best players in the league, and that's happening in Detroit, where the East was so wide. We talked about it coming into the year. It was the same case throughout the year, and I get Boston surprised people, but none of the narrative changed about the Eastern Conference being wide open, and he
Mhm.
just sat there at the deadline and was like, "All right, Dennis Jenkins, be your let's just have him be our secondary scorer," and it just didn't make sense.
Yeah.
So, I'm very disappointed to see what Detroit has done in their front office.
We're not done.
John Collins, like, okay, am I supposed to get excited? As you point, am I supposed to get excited about John Collins? Like,
Yeah. I I don't know if people understand like how fleeting championship windows are.
mm,
And I think a lot of times front offices, I mean, there's a fine line between being too rash. Like I would say like the Phoenix Suns when they traded for KD, I think they maybe like overestimated where they were and like gave up too much. And like the Bradley Beal thing was obviously the nail in the coffin there.
yeah,
Um, but there's a fine line between being too rash and too bold and also like sitting on your hands too much. And like not to Lakersify everything, but like or Lakers pill everything. But I felt like the Lakers were a prime example of that with LeBron and AD, where they were just so reticent to use any draft capital or like anything to improve the team. And it was sort of like, oh yeah, like maybe next year, like kick the can down the road. And then they got bailed out with Luca. But like next thing you know, AD is like a constant, he's just constantly injured and like kind of on the other side of his prime. LeBron is another year closer to retirement. And you're just all of a sudden you wake up and that window has probably passed you by. And Detroit, it's like the East is not going to be open forever. Like,
yeah.
you know what I mean? I mean, AJ DeBonsa just went to the Eastern Conference. The Charlotte Hornets, I think, have a really bright future. Probably not this year, but like in the next few. Like that the East is the Knicks aren't going anywhere. It's not going to be wide open every year. And so when you're the number one seed and your superstar is like reaching like the peak of his powers, you got to make moves. You know what I mean? You got to go for it.
But
Cause
not
like,
only are you the number one seed, I'm sorry to cut you off,
no, yeah.
but you're the number one seed coming off of a year where you were the sixth seed, and you pushed the Knicks to 6 games
Yeah.
in round one, and that was a very competitive series where if Brunson doesn't hit that shot, that ridiculous shot over Arthur Thompson, maybe it goes to game 7. So you were shown some promise the year before. You're now the number 1 seed, and then you're just sitting there doing nothing.
And then this year, I feel like they probably got worse so far. I
Oh, yeah,
mean,
absolutely.
because they lost Isaiah Stewart, who, from like a X's and O's perspective, not that meaningful, but from like a culture setting perspective,
Yeah.
I think gave them that like grit and toughness. They lost
Duren still
Tobias
doesn't
Harris.
Duren still doesn't have a contract.
Right, and that's the thing I was gonna say. They lost Tobias Harris, and you've sort of alienated your second all-star. Like, things are not kosher with
Mm.
Jalen Duren and the Detroit Pistons right now. And so going into next season, it's like Jalen Duren's pissed, regardless of how much money he ends up getting paid. Tobias Harris is gone. Isaiah Stewart is gone. And you didn't get like another all-star to pair with Cade. You didn't get another like primary ball handler, shot creator. I'm very underwhelmed by Detroit.
Yeah, I think the Duren situation is very tricky because he was terrible in the playoffs. So it's like, do we want to give him the
I get
bag?
it. I get
Um,
it.
because like we've seen this before. So you just don't know if that's what you want to do. But you got to find a way to capitalize on this Cade window, and they just haven't done that. We are hang in here on YouTube and Twitter. We're gonna try to do this once a week and then cook something up for you guys
Yeah.
as we enter, summer league, and then we'll get to a dead period in the NBA season. We'll become more creative, and then before you know it, we'll be into training camp and the preseason, and then the Knicks will be trying to defend their crown. How about we end here? I know every single day we're all thinking about game 4. Something on our timeline flashes as game 4. How
Yeah.
about this? I didn't think that there was anything more impressive. There was anything that could add to how impressive Jalen Brunson's playoff run was, including dropping 45 in the finals in a clincher. To learn that that man was playing with a fractured wrist
Yeah,
that
that's crazy.
then required surgery is crazy.
He's so tough, and I think that's such an underrated quality about him, honestly, is just that, like, his toughness, his mental toughness, like, he is a dog, and, like, was that due to, like, borderline child abuse from his dad growing up training him? Like, who's to say? But, like, regardless, he is so tough now and just, like, such a dog, and, like, he's exactly who you wanna be in a foxhole with. I feel like it's so impressive, and I remember what was it? Was it against the Pacers? No. Maybe when he broke his hand?
Yeah, it was 2024, game 7. He fractured his hand
Yeah.
right before halftime.
Yeah. And I mean, it takes that, like, to get him out of the playoffs.
Yeah.
It takes an injury so bad that it's, like, not physically possible to play through. But anything else, it's like, I mean, I'm very World Cup centric right now because like that's
Yeah.
been sort of dominating all the headlines. And I feel like Jalen Brunson is the sort of antithesis of Kristen Pulisic and like his sort of
Oh my
reaction to
goodness.
injuries. Like, can you imagine if Jalen Brunson he did have a sprained ankle, I'm pretty sure, in game one,
Yeah.
and he just like went back in the game. So
Yo, how about him saying, like, after they lost, like, "Now I get a chance to rest my ankle."
yeah, I
What
know.
a what a disaster. What a
It's like,
disaster.
wow, well, thank God for that.
I know, right? Like, now
Because
you've got
God
all the
forbid
time
you
in the
make it
world.
to the next round of the World Cup for the
Do you
first
have another
time.
team do you have another team you're pulling for now?
I'm a free agent. I'm deciding because there's characters I like on various teams, so I'm very torn. Because like I'm a big Mbappe person because he's just like so cool and like has such good politics and just seems like such a wonderful person. So he's really easy to root for. He's also like kind of a baby goat in a way.
Mhm.
So I really enjoy him, but France are sort of front runners, so I don't want to like be a front runner necessarily. I really like Jude Bellingham on England. I really like Holland, obviously, on Norway, and they're really fun. I feel like the Messi storyline would be really cool because it's like it's like a LeBron parallel. Like he's supposed to be done and he's not. So I don't know. I'm torn. I'm a free agent right now. I put a thing on my Twitter and I was like, who should I root for? And I had to mute the tweet because I got like 100 responses of people just being like, this team, this team, this team,
Well,
and they were
listen,
all different.
you're pretty popular. You could expect that.
No, I'm just
Uh,
like, that's overwhelming. I'm a Libra. I'm bad at making decisions. So I'm like, make the decision for me. And then it was all these other answers that were not the same answer.
so here's my producer for my Sunday morning show, the Ty Butler show, Harvey Cruz. He's a big soccer guy. He's like Mbappe. He also says, root for the Queen of England and call it a night.
RIP.
So my kid is a big Argentina fan.
Okay.
He's only 5 years old though. And so the reason why he's an Argentina fan is because he's obsessed with Messi.
Yeah.
He has this like YouTube show he watches, and like the daughter of the family was in love with Messi, so now he's a Messi guy, and so now he also roots for Argentina. So I think I picked up Argentina as the second team I'm rooting for. And
Fun. I
obviously
mean, he's
so
amazing.
just incredible. That comeback, one for the ages. One I missed, by the way, because I was in the movies. I was out watching. Speaking of kids, we took the kids to see Toy Story 5 yesterday, and I missed the game.
Wait, how did you take the kids to see Toy Story 5 during Argentina if one of them is a huge Argentina fan?
Yeah, I don't know. We kind of mismanaged the clock there, but this was fun. We'll do this
Yeah,
again.
fun
We'll
as
do this.
always.
Yeah, absolutely. We'll do this again next week. So the trip to Vegas is tomorrow morning.
Yes.
All right, safe travels.
Thank you so much.
Have fun.
I
Uh,
will.
Keep me posted on everything happening in the league, and we will talk again soon. Have a great rest of
Sounds
your evening.
good. See you later.
Claire DeLune does a great job covering the NBA for the Guardian. We will wrap this thing up here at Ty D Butler. Is where you can find me on Twitter, on Instagram. Subscribe to the YouTube channel. Shout out to my man Harvey tuning into the stream. I appreciate you, bro. We'll be back. We'll be back tomorrow, I guess. Yeah, tomorrow I'm coming back on here to talk some Yankees following their day game against the Rays, and I'll be back on the radio literally every day for like the next month. And so I'll talk to you guys again soon. Peace and love. Holla at your boy.